Welcome in. We are live here at the beautiful Keowee Key out by the pickleball courts. Myself and Ashby. Appreciate everybody's tuned in. Want to throw in there, this is a private community. Not everybody can come out here, so don't come out here wanting to play pickleball. I'm not sure you'll be allowed to. But anyways, appreciate them letting us camp out here for the next hour. As you can see, the queen of the airwaves, Ashby Mixon, is with us tonight. Always a pleasure to have her on. How you doing this evening, Ashby?
JP, I'm feeling great. This is awesome. I'm watching some people get some work in pickleball. Don't exactly know what the scoring is, how it works, but enjoying watching that and happy to be here. This is so much fun.
I have no idea how pickleball works. I call it JV tennis. I don't know if that's a good description. But these folks dedicated. It's cold out here. They do not have the advantage of a heater right over the top of them like we do. That's some dedication.
That's some dedication, and you know what? It's a whole thing. They have a whole pickleball channel. They got tournaments. It's really fun. I love it. Love to see it.
Yeah, they put some pickleball courts up by my dad's house in Florence not too long ago, and there's always people out there. But nonetheless, nobody wants to hear us talk about pickleball. I'm sure there are some folks out there that want to hear me eat crow. I'll do that. Before we get started, though, we want to thank our sponsor over at A-Glass. 2 locations back home in the PD, one in Florence, one in Sumter. They'll take care of all your auto glass needs. They do replacement, repair. Get yourself a free quote today, myaglass.com. So Saturday was pretty fun, right?
Very fun. Oh, my goodness. More fun than even maybe you anticipated, JP.
A lot more than I anticipated. I did not. I picked Clemson to lose. I own it. I just want to add in there that I did say if Clemson gets to 20 points, I like their chances. That happened. They won. So I am going to pat myself on the back there. But I will eat some crow in saying that I picked them to lose. I did not trust Clemson's offense. I didn't really trust Clemson's defense fully. But, man, did those guys on that side of the ball show up in a way we've not seen really all year long.
Absolutely. It was really fun to watch. It kind of felt like it all came together for the first time on the defense. There's been spurts in different games where certain guys have really looked good, looked like they're living up to their potential. And this was the first game that it felt like almost everybody had a big moment, a big play. Guys like TJ Parker, that you've been waiting for them to have that explosive game. Really good to see.
Yeah. TJ Parker, over the past 3 games, I thought he's played much better. I thought he was really disruptive against Louisville. Didn't really have a lot of stats in the box score to kind of back that up. But if you go back and watch it, he was effective. If they didn't play the whole game against Furman, but I thought he played well there. But, man, he had some key sacks of Lenore Sellers on Saturday. And last year when they'd get hands on him, they couldn't bring him down. This year, I don't know that he broke the first tackle.
I don't think so either. And, ahead of this game, there was a lot of talk about different legacies, and Cade Klubnik's legacy against South Carolina. I think this was TJ Parker's legacy game. I really do. I think people will remember this performance for a long time. I know that I will, because to go from him Lenore Sellers running circles around that whole defense to not being able to do a thing on the ground, man, it looked like a completely different team with essentially the same guys.
And if you look at the final numbers, and they're kind of skewed because of the 2 big passing plays that led to both their touchdowns, and then that long drive there late in the fourth quarter where, you're playing a little bit different defensively, maybe not quite as aggressive as you had been up to that point. But, man, when you looked at the numbers at halftime, they were completely one-sided, yet it was still a 3-point game. It was. I thought it was going to, play out to be one of those weird things, but Clemson just took control, both lines of scrimmage in the second half. Deeper you got into the game, even the offensive line started to kind of control the line of scrimmage, started opening up some lane, or open up more lanes than they had been in the first half for Adam Randall. And you mentioned legacy. I think Adam Randall helped cement his legacy, and Cade Klubnik. Being 2-1 against the Gamecocks, that's a whole different ball game as opposed to being 1-2. I think he becomes just the 13th quarterback with multiple wins against the Gamecocks as a starter.
Huge. Absolutely, and did it 1-2 games without a passing touchdown. Got the 2-point conversion in that second game, but oh my goodness, just found a way to win. Found a way to stick in there and work through what I think was probably the worst couple of plays stretch this season for him, where he overthrew Antonio Williams, underthrew Adam Randall for the pick, to turn around and immediately have just a couple dimes he threw, a couple incredible passes, some of his best of the season, and to turn that around. I thought that showed a lot, and I think that's kind of who Cade Klubnik has shown himself to be throughout his tenure at Clemson.
He made some elite level throws during that game. Yeah, he missed Antonio. Me and you were talking about this before we started. I'm willing to give him a pass on that one. You know, he throws it off his back foot. He's got pressure in his face. That next one to Adam Randall, though, Randall's got two steps on his guy. You got to lay that one in there. He just missed it. Probably took a little bit off of it because he had just overthrown the one before. But man, he really did come back and have a pretty solid game. And one thing you can say about him, it doesn't matter who you play, what week, what's on the line. That guy's going to leave it on the field, all on the field every week. You might not get the result that you want, but you can't question his love for Clemson. You can't question his effort.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was going to say. Throughout the whole situation, starting with his, first full season as a starter, you have that horrible loss to Duke. To this point, there has been no moment where Cade Klubnik has shown anything other than his love for Clemson. He stuck it out. He stayed at Clemson first and foremost, which is a very rare thing in today's day and age. And he's been able to carve out a really nice career for himself. And, there's been tough moments for sure, tough moments this season especially, but that's a guy that's never going to stop fighting and stop caring. You saw that when he was hurt. Coach Sweeney said, I've never seen a guy try harder to get back and play. You saw that in the South Carolina game where he about fumbled the ball and somehow turned it into a touchdown. That's a guy that's not going to give up. And for me, gave a lot of new reasons to respect Cade Klubnik this past weekend.
I don't think people realize exactly how banged up he's been.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the ankle, the sprained ankle suffered in the Boston College game. And a lot of people don't realize that was a high ankle sprain, not just your run-of-the-mill sprain. And then he hurt a quad. I mean, he's been pretty banged up. Basically, he playing on one leg for a while there. That's toughness, no matter which way you slice it.
Absolutely. I think especially, too, if you look at how his ankle is wrapped in each of these games, it looks like it is being held together by, about 40,000 bandages. Like somebody's PT, some trainer somewhere put in some work on that to get Cade Klubnik able to play. And kind of the same thing like you were saying with his quad and all this stuff that's been going on. They didn't really make a big deal of it. They didn't really say a ton. He just said every week, yeah, I'm feeling better. I'm good enough to play. I'm good enough to play. And honestly, he's played his best when he hasn't been fully healthy so far this year. I don't know if that's because he doesn't feel as much pressure to take off. I'm not sure what that is, but he's made some of his best throws in these past few weeks when he has been getting healthy.
Yeah, well, once again, I want to remind everybody, we are out here at the beautiful private community of Keowee Key out here by the lake, watching dozens of people play pickleball right now, dedicated folks at playing pickleball in this cold. With the win, Clemson notches their 7th win. First time any Clemson team has started 1-3 and bounced back to win 7. Dabo made a big deal out of that the other night. But, it puts them a little higher in the pecking order when it comes to postseason. We're getting asked if there's any chance they play in the Mayo Bowl. I don't think so. To me personally, that's where I'd like to see them go because it's right up the road.
2 hours, be great.
But just based on some things I've heard, I don't know, man. At least some things I heard after the game Saturday night. I tend to think, if I had to guess right now, I'm leaning Sun Bowl in El Paso.
We had to look that up right before we started because I did not know where the Sun Bowl was, to be so honest with you. But I think that'd be a good opportunity for the team to travel, make it a whole thing, have a bonding moment. You know what I'm saying? It'd be great to go to the Mayo Bowl for, media members that don't want to go to El Paso on a whim. But I think the idea of the bowl trip and, getting the gear from whatever bowl game you go to, that is something that has been around in college football for so long when so many other things have changed. And I think that gives you really good momentum and a really good solid end of your season where you can feel good about it, thinking about getting an 8th win, where we were sitting here a few weeks ago, not sure if they'd be able to find the wins to get to a bowl game. It didn't seem very likely. So I think that'd be really, really fun to have that kind of big trip like that.
When they were 3-5, I was having a hard time finding 3 more wins. They found them. They gutted it out and found a way to do it. And there'll be some people that moan and groan about them going to play in whatever bowl it is, but that's 15 extra practices for the young guys.
Amen.
You might not see guys like Keowee Klubnik and Adam Randall sitting out that game and letting the younger guys take over and start, but that is 15 extra practices for those guys, whether they play or not. To me, that's a big deal. Very big deal.
That's a huge deal. Think about all these young guys that you want to get more reps. Think about somebody like a Corey Gibson, Chris Denson, guys like this that have had big-time flashes but maybe need a little bit more experience so you kind of know what you're working with ahead of next year. Maybe start looking at what you need to get, what's leaving, things of that nature. I think that's really helpful. And on top of that, I think that it was huge that Clemson essentially clinched a bowl game with the Louisville win, and it wasn't dependent on South Carolina. That, to me, took a ton of pressure off of this game. Not that it's not a huge deal regardless, but the fact that Carolina could not play for a bowl eligibility and Clemson could not be knocked out of it, that was huge, in my opinion.
Clinched it versus Furman.
Yes, but
your point remains very valid. I just knew somebody.
Sorry, everybody.
All right, one more thing about the game. Winning that game also kind of sends you off into the offseason with a different feel, different vibe. No matter what happens in any meaningless bowl game, whether you win that, lose that, the fact that you won this game against your biggest rival, it makes the offseason a little bit more bearable, when you think about what transpired the first 6 weeks of the season.
Oh, my goodness, yes. I think I talked to a lot of Clemson fans after that game that were like, man, I feel like we're 12-0 right now after getting that big-time win on the road. And the mindset of the fans that I've talked to this week versus 3-4 weeks ago, it's night and day. There's a sense of hope. There's a sense of looking forward. And I think it speaks a lot to the players, the staff, the fan base for sticking it out and not giving up to now go and potentially get an 8th win. Like, that is a crazy turnaround that makes you feel so much better about where the culture is at and where really this team in general is at.
So that brings us to the offseason. Let's forget the bowl game and who they might play and whether they win or lose. This offseason is expected to bring some change. How much change, without going into specifics, or we're not going to talk about what coaches might get fired or who might be back, not our jobs, but how much change do you think we're going to see between now and maybe January 1st?
Well, I mean, by nature, you're going to see a lot of change because there's a lot of guys leaving. This is a veteran team. We've talked about it since last June and July of all the guys that are going to be leaving after this year, guys that are draft eligible, guys that are graduating out, whether that's a Walker Parks type, whether that's a TJ Parker, whether that's a Keowee Klubnik. And those are big time positions that just by nature that you're going to have a lot of change on the player side of things. And I could see a lot of other changes coming as well.
I think this team looks much different next year. I should have said February 1st because the portal would have opened and closed by then. This team's going to look much different next year. I see somebody saying Vizina needs to get the play in the bowl game. I don't think Clemson's quarterback is on their roster right now, their quarterback for next year. I fully 100% believe that. That makes what Vizina does in the bowl game irrelevant. I think there are a lot of players that are going to be on this team next year that are not on the roster right now. There's going to be a lot of gaps, a lot of holes, however you want to describe them. They're going to have to be pretty active in the portal. And that, to me, it starts with quarterback. I need a couple of offensive linemen. Depending on what happens at running back, you might need one of those guys. I could see a scenario where you need a receiver. You need some help at safety. You need some help at defensive end. You need some help at corner, maybe even linebacker. I mean, there's a lot of potential gaps on this team.
There's no position group or very few that I'm looking at for next season. And I'm thinking, nah, you're totally good there. You don't need anything potentially. I mean, can you think of anything?
maybe defensive tackle if you get everybody expected back. And I'm just saying maybe. I'm not even 100% sold on that. But if you get guys like Stephon Green, Amari Adams, Vic Burley, Champ Thompson, Heaven Brown Sewell, and they all come back, maybe you don't need help at defensive tackle. But everywhere else, I could see a potential for a need.
I think you're good on tight ends as well.
Depending on if you keep them all.
That's a good point. As it stands right now, I think that is a really underutilized group that has a lot of upside, a lot of potential. And I feel really good about most of those guys. I feel really good about Christian Bentoncourt. I think he is a incredible athlete. I think he, like I said, has not been used as much as I thought he was going to be. And I think his potential at Clemson is huge if they can get him the ball.
5 catches against South Carolina Saturday. But that word you just used, underutilized. That's why I say if they're all back next year, because if you're a tight end, particularly, let's say for whatever reason, Garrett Riley's back. We don't know if he's coming back. We don't know if he's leaving. We just don't know yet. What gives those tight ends any reason to believe next year is going to be different? They'll be more utilized than they have been this year. I could see 1 or 2 of those guys kind of looking around for better opportunities.
I think you look back at Jake Brenningstool and see that they were able to find him. That wasn't an issue. If you can go back to trusting some of those guys like they did him, I think there's a lot of chances there, but that has to be sold big time.
Yeah, it'll have to be you certainly don't have the numbers to say, hey, this is what we're going to do based off what we did this year. You can look at what Brenningstool did. If you go and look at all the catches that Battencure, Sapp, and Olsen Pat Henry have combined, or at least the last time I checked, they're not that all far off.
That makes sense.
It doesn't feel that way, but they're not all that far off. The thing is, they're not being utilized in the red zone the way Brenningstool was. I think Battencure is the only tight end with a touchdown catch all year long.
Which makes sense. He has the size. I get that. But those guys have all been really, really good when they've gotten opportunities. There have been some big-time catches that they've all made. I think they're all improving at blocking. I don't know. I feel really good about that room if you can retain them.
Yeah, if you keep all those guys, yeah, you're in good shape. And then you got Tavion Wilson coming in who's kind of undervalued by the services, but the coaching staff really likes that room would be in good shape if you could get them all back. A hot topic over here is quarterback.
Okay.
Denson, playing time in the bowl game. After all, he's probably the starter in 26. I beg to differ, man. I don't see any scenario in which Chris Denson is the starting quarterback at Clemson next year. I don't see any way that plays out that way. I don't care if he plays the whole bowl game, 2 snaps, 5 snaps. I'm not even convinced he's going to be in Clemson next year.
What do you think about if he stayed and developed for a year? Could you see him as a starter, not this coming season, but the next season?
Absolutely.
I do too.
Absolutely. He's got all the tools, but go back and watch those 4 passes from the Furman game. His mechanics are kind of wonky. They still need some work. He's very flat-footed with his throws. He's got some work to do when it comes to the passing aspect. And Dabo kind of talked about it last week before last. But he's certainly electric with the ball in his hands. And this spring's going to be a big one for him. But, again, I don't think the quarterback for next year is on the roster. I think that you're going to have a portal quarterback in place next year. All the signs point to that direction. The only way that I see that not playing out that way is if they just miss on the guys they target.
Let me paint this picture, too, as well with Chris Denson. I am in the camp that if you can keep him to develop him next year, that he is primed to be the starter or could be primed to be the starter of the next year. However, he had 2 great drives against Furman, was electric on the ground. However, do you want his next experience to be in Tiger Stadium for Lane Kiffin's first game against LSU or with LSU against Clemson?
No, I don't want his first career start to come in LSU. I don't want Vizina's second career start to come in LSU. I think you got to go get a veteran guy who's actually got some experience and let him kind of bridge the gap maybe to Denson the year after that, or a Tate Reynolds or a Kareem Hughley who comes in 27. You'll have some options after that. Golly, I saw something I was going to jump on now. I don't remember where it is. Oh, this is about scholarships. History shows Dabo didn't have the scholarships for portal in the past. Has nothing to do with this year. You now have 105 to work with, and go and look at how many scholarships are coming off the roster this year. It's going to be a ton. That's not even counting the spots that are going to open up from guys leaving via the portal. There will be plenty of available scholarships. There's looking like it's only going to be 19 members of the 2026 recruiting class, not 20. Looks like they're going to lose one more between now and Wednesday, probably on Wednesday. But, yeah, there will be plenty of room. Scholarship numbers will not be a problem.
Yeah, I don't think the issue for this upcoming team is that there's going to be not enough room to bring people in. I think you're definitely in the other direction of needing a lot more than you did this year. And to be honest with you, I think Dabo made really good decisions with who he brought in this past year, and everybody that transferred in has made an impact. Truly. They were more and more as you get further into the season, you saw that these were all really good additions to this team. And I think that bodes well for who they're looking for, what kind of guys they're going to bring in. But I definitely don't think that the scholarships will be necessarily the biggest issue in getting those guys to Clemson.
Yeah, the Scott. I wouldn't worry about the numbers. You can always make the numbers work. There's another thing to keep in mind. If you go back to last offseason, nobody thought there were very many holes on that team. You thought you had everything in place, everything you needed. The most of the fan base's biggest gripe was not getting a punter out of the portal. You had a few here wanting to get a running back or a safety, and in hindsight, you probably absolutely needed a safety. But there were not a lot of folks unhappy about the portal uses last year. I mean, I think Dabo's going to make some moves.
Yeah, you take it up with any big-time ESPN writer this time, 6 months ago. Everybody said that Clemson had almost a complete roster. And on paper, you did. And so his use of the portal, I think, for the most part, was pretty perfect outside of maybe a safety. Now we know that. But Coach Winnie does like to remind everyone about once a week how good Jack Smith has turned out this year. He says it about every press conference. He's like, what about Jack Smith?
He likes to remind people he was right about the punter. That's
very true.
Sure.
Very true. He's not letting it go.
Hey, Jack Smith was probably one of the MVPs of this team over the first half of the season, man. He was outstanding for most of the, year. He had the one shank. He shanked one Saturday. I thought it got blocked. Looking at the replay, it didn't look like it did, but the pressure was on him and he shanked it, but he's only had two all year. And he's been really good about pinning teams inside the 20.
Really good.
Got somebody in here talking about baseball.
Hey, we don't mind that.
No, we don't mind talking baseball. I don't know that anybody else would like it. Yeah, there's a lot of Wood strikes me as a guy that's ready to move on. There's several of them that strike me as ready to move on. I can't get it.
There we go.
Clemson is not bringing in a QB on no Dabo. I'll take that money. I'll take that bet.
I heard that argument a lot earlier in the season completely.
Yeah, I will take that bet that Clemson makes the effort to go get a quarterback. And going back to Denson, I had forgotten about this. I meant to mention it a minute ago, but I just got reminded about it. He hired Drew Rosenhaus as his agent earlier this season. So that does –
good mental note.
To me, that just does not signify a guy that's planning to come back. And everybody forgets that not only was that Furman, but it was Furman backups.
I say that. There were times where the quarterbacks in front of him did not look electric against Furman and Furman backups, though, in that game.
Yeah.
You know what? There were times where Clemson's offense did not look like it was moving as smooth as it was with Chris Denson. So give him his flowers on that.
Cade has season PFF grade in the high 80s. But yeah, he's bounced back and had a pretty solid year. He's really cut down on the turnovers from the early, or let's say the month of September, because he was starting to turn it over at a pretty high rate there for a few weeks after only throwing 6 picks all last year. But yeah, he rebounded nicely, particularly over the last month.
Outside of that pick to Adam, or trying to throw to Adam, I think before that there hadn't been a Clemson interception since the Boston College game. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Like it had been a long time.
That was the first pick for Cade, yeah.
He had totally cut down on those and seemed a lot more comfortable to me. Kind of seemed like the player you expected. Man, he had some great throws in the South Carolina game. That one to Cole Turner, like back shoulder. That's one of the plays of his career, in my opinion. Pretty great stuff.
Yeah, he made some elite level throws Saturday. And some of those throws that he makes from to the opposite hash, not everybody can do that.
That's big time stuff.
We got a lot of people that think Dabo's not going to bring in a quarterback. What do you think Adam Randall's done for his NFL stock?
Oh my gosh, it's night and day in my opinion. Right? You've shown that. Well, first and foremost, he has the athleticism. We've known this. You've known this since he was in high school, where he's playing every position on the field, right? And then he comes to Clemson, gets hurt, battles injuries for 3 years, and then he's able to completely turn his career around and learn how to be a running back in an offseason and ends up with however many yards per carry. What's he at right now? Like 7 yards a carry? Something crazy.
I can tell you in a second.
He completely transformed himself as a player. And I really think that if I'm a scout and I'm looking at that and I say, hey, that guy was able to do that in 1 year, I think he's a project for sure. I don't know that he necessarily has all the little running back technique type things down, but his upside is huge to me. And I think somebody should give him a chance. Absolutely.
5 yards per carry this year for a guy that's never played running back at this level before this year. I think about what might have been had they made that move a year earlier. Last year, it turns out, man, they really needed a second running back behind Maffa. They didn't have anybody they trusted. They finally started giving Haynes an opportunity in Charlotte in the ACC championship game after letting Maffa play with one arm for God knows how long.
Half the season.
Yeah, I mean, they were in dire need of another running back last year. They make that move a year earlier, man, it probably helps his draft stock tremendously. But I think he gets drafted based off what he's done this year. It probably won't be to day 3 and into the later rounds, but that's a guy that has shown he can run between the tackles. He can break it around the outside. She talked about, Ashby, you talked about his versatility. He can play a little bit of wideout and he can return kicks too. Somebody will take a flyer on that guy.
I think his instincts are really, really good too. And they'll only get better with practice and with actually getting coached up by pro running back coaches. I think he could be a problem. I really do.
Do you think we won't hear any news about staff changes until after signing day? Well, signing day is Wednesday. So I'm going to lay odds on it that we're not going to start hearing about staff changes tomorrow. That's kind of the smart play, though. You don't want to run guys off who think they're going to be playing for this guy and then suddenly find out, hey, I'm not going to be playing for him. I don't know who I'm going to be playing for. Maybe I need to look around. Those are moves you make after signing day and once everybody's signed and on board, and then you don't have to worry as much about the defections, so to speak. So I wouldn't be sitting by the computer all day waiting on so-and-so to be fired, this guy to be fired. There's a lot of talk about Garrett Riley being linked to Texas or North Texas for that head coaching job. And if he were to get that, that just makes everything so much easier. You don't have to worry about having to fire an offensive coordinator who you brought in to, basically for this to be a stepping stone job into a head coaching opportunity, and it just hasn't really worked out for whatever reason. So that would probably be the best case scenario is wait and see what happens with the North Texas job, and then you can go from there. But don't get me wrong, man. I think there's going to be a minimum of 4 new assistants on the Clemson staff next year. 4 at least.
When do you think that news will kind of start spreading? Pre-bowl game?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on when it is, and it doesn't necessarily mean. I just think it's possible it could, but it might not be till after. Go back 2 years ago, they didn't wait after the bowl game to make the move with Thomas Austin. Matt Luke coached in the bowl game, or he was at the bowl game. I don't know how much actual coaching he did. I think when they brought Chris Rumpf back, he was back for that bowl game. So, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if we saw some moves made before the bowl game. Absolutely. I mean, but this is also going to be a crazy coaching carousel.
Yes.
There's so many firings and hirings going on, and all these new head coaches have to fill out their staffs. Their entire staff's not going to follow them for their previous job. So there's a lot of instability right now, and some of that's going to have to play out.
It's got to be some kind of record, this coaching carousel. It's unlike anything I've ever seen since I've been watching college football. I mean, yeah, that's a good point. You think about the big-time jobs, the big head coaching jobs. You don't often think about the wide receiver coaches, the safety coaches, all those kinds of people, and that's something interesting to look at.
People or fans that want this coach fired or that coach fired and want to hear about it tomorrow, those are coaches that could very easily find themselves with other job offers.
Big time.
Why not wait to see if they get other offers and go somewhere else before you're having to start fire people and really start making it look bad? It looks much better when so-and-so's leaving for such and such position at such and such school rather than, hey, Dabo Swinney announced today the firing of so-and-so. I mean, it's a lot better for all parties involved. Tate Reynolds. You know anything about Tate Reynolds?
I know a little bit. You know a lot more than I do, though. You're the pro of all things.
I don't know about that.
Recruiting.
Yeah, the Elite 11's been a while back. So that's an old interview you're talking about, like close to a year ago now. Tate, who don't get me wrong, man, I think he's got all the potential in the world. Missed pretty much his entire senior season. And I don't know how well that's your last high school year that you missed of developing. And I thought this was going to be a big year for him. He got hurt in his first game. I don't think he came back until the last game of the season. I'm not 100% on that, but I think that's what it was. So he missed that whole year. Then you got to add in, he wants to play baseball too. So, I mean, I would not view him as a plug-and-play type guy. Particularly if he's going to play baseball and be bouncing back, between 2 sports in the spring. Quarterback's just too much to learn. I'm telling you, I just don't think next year's quarterback's on the roster yet. And I'm including those 2 freshmen coming in.
What was his injury?
I could have, I want to say a hamstring maybe. Ooh. Don't hold me to that. I can't remember. My memory's terrible.
When you've been out for that long, coming back to just learning the basics and reteaching yourself the basics of running and all that kind of thing is one thing. Learning quarterback is another thing at a D1 level, at a Power 4 level. Trying to learn how to play baseball, college baseball on top of that as well. Man, that's a lot coming at you your freshman year. That's a big task at hand when you've already been hurt.
Especially when you're playing quarterback.
Yes.
I mean, it just kind of it's much more difficult now than it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago or 20 years ago, whenever it was Kyle Parker did it. It was about, 2010, so let's say 15 years ago. It's a whole different beast now.
You look at the guys that have played both in the last 5 to 10 years, it's a different kind of person than somebody that's a quarterback, that's for sure.
There's a reason DJ Uyunglele did not try to play baseball when he got to college. Caden Gephardt, 4-star safety. He is who I am referring to when I say it looks like they're going to lose one more before Wednesday. There is definitely some fire with that smoke there. This is a guy that told me on October 30th, I think it was. What's that, 32 days ago? I will not be one of those guys, referring to the guys that decommitted. I will not be one. I will not be flipping. That's why Dabo likes to say never say never. You just don't ever know. It sounds like he's going to flip to Ohio State. Kid plays high school ball like 10 minutes from Ohio State's campus. I have no idea what's going on there. I tried to reach out to him. I hadn't heard back from him. Suspect I won't. Maybe I get a hold of him after signing day, but we'll see what happens. Maybe the staff can coax him into staying. But man, that's the guy that wanted to play for Tom Allen. He wasn't really on Clemson's radar till after they hired Allen. Allen comes on board in January. Gephardt, he visits right after that. And Clemson's kind of the favorite almost immediately. Comes back for the elite retreat in March, commits, been committed that whole time. And then a month ago says, I will not be one of them. Well, not
Here we
so
are.
fast, my friend, as Lee Corso likes to say. Looks like he might be one of them. That makes 2 of your 3 safety commits. They had 3 of them committed, 3 high-level guys. Kentavion Anderson, who you've got to watch play. Blake Stewart, who decommitted a few weeks back. And Gephardt, who it seems like that train has left station.
Is this a guy that had other big-time offers besides Clemson when Clemson offered him, or was Clemson kind of the first to put him on?
Ohio State, Penn State. Yeah,
Okay.
He was trending towards Penn State because he wanted to play for Tom Allen.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he had other offers for sure. His film is impressive, man. He likes to lay the wood.
What do you think? What do you think the reasoning is behind waiting this long in the process to start having those conversations again?
Most of the time, it would be money. I don't know that that's what it is here, but I mean, my phone has dinged about 10 times since we started the show, and 9 of them was because of guys have flipped or decommitted. I mean, it has been the craziest week that I've ever seen in recruiting with all the decommitments. It is insane. It's because guys are negotiating here at the last minute. They're getting better offers. That doesn't – all of them aren't because of that. Again, Gephardt plays 10, 15 minutes, or he's from 10, 15 minutes from Ohio State's campus, I think. Maybe he just wants to stay home. I have no idea. But a lot of them, it's about cha-cha-ching.
A lot of people getting left at the altar this week, pretty much. A lot of head coaches.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement going around. Unlike any I've ever seen. It's going to be like that every year from now on. Too much money involved now. Which, if you lose 2 of your 3 safeties, you absolutely got to go to – I already thought Clemson was going to go to the portal for a safety anyways. Now you might have to go get a couple.
Well, yes, and also that was even before these decommits, would you trust those true freshmen to be able to step in and play safety right away? I think you had to go to the portal regardless for those guys.
I think you had to at least go get one. Absolutely. You needed a veteran, because I think that's been a big part of Clemson's problem this year. Khalil Barnes was the only veteran in that room outside of, I guess, Shelton Lewis, who got beat out by Tink. And I like to consider the nickel a safety. Not everybody does. They kind of – they're safety-like. Let's put it that way.
That's a young group, really young group.
I think that was a big part of the problem. So much inexperience, Fortunately, Ricardo Jones just kept getting better and better and better, and he's been a bright spot the past few weeks and was one of the heroes Saturday.
Oh yeah, his name will forever go down as a hero in that game. Oh my goodness, talk about a way to start your career at Clemson. What a way to end the season. Oh my goodness. I thought it was really cool too that room ended up kind of saving the day and winning that game when they've been the ones that struggled so much this year. You haven't heard Dabo criticize anybody more than, the safeties this season, and that was pretty cool.
It's kind of easy to read between the lines right there. According to some Clemson fans, Gephardt wants to play for a modern head coach and not an old style like that. But yeah, that's crazy. That I guarantee you that has nothing to do with it. Oh my God, no! Let's please don't do that. I would want no part of Chip Kelly.
Get after him, JP.
No part of Chip Kelly. That guy moves more than I change underwear, man. It is. I don't know why anybody. Yeah, nah, man. Hard pass on that one.
JP said no.
Hard pass. No, Adam Randall has no more eligibility left.
Which it feels like he would have another year because he's been hurt so much, but he's played through so much stuff.
Yeah, he got he tore the ACL his very first spring. He came back later that season, probably a little too soon.
He came back in like 150 days from an ACL tear.
And then he ends up, I don't know what happened, something with the other knee. I remember being told he had to have a procedure on the other knee after that season. And then how many hand injuries has he had?
He had a bunch. I remember Cade in a press conference talking about how Adam was practicing with a boxing glove on his hand.
Because he had a broke hand?
Yes. So, I mean, because of that, he does not have any more eligibility. You wish that he did, because I think another year for him in college as a running back would be huge.
Absolutely.
But, which is kind of what you were saying. There's part of me that wishes they made that move earlier. But until that moment in the ACC championship game, you didn't really have any reason to think that that would be a good fit until you saw him run with the ball.
Oh, yeah, on that kickoff return.
Oh, yeah.
It was like.
Everybody was like.
What? Where's that been?
Adam Randall? Oh, my gosh.
Everybody was, it turns out he probably, I don't know how. He always looked slower at this level than he did at the high school level. I'm sure the knee things probably had some impact in that. And I'm sure some of that was him being the best player on the field most weeks when he's playing at high school level. But man, I would have loved to have seen what happened had he gotten another year at running back.
I talked to him a couple months ago, and I asked him which one he likes more. And he said, my heart's more in wide receiver, but I'm better at running back. And I was like, fair enough.
I think that is probably a very honest answer.
Yep, for sure.
Because he's always been a receiver. It's his identity. That's what he knows. And, probably 3 more years playing the position, maybe only 2. He might would change his tune on that. Because he has been I was always a fan of the move after they announced it. I wasn't one of those guys saying, oh, no, this sucks. He's a converted wide receiver. I watched what SMU did with a converted wide receiver at running back last season. They had a lot of success. I thought Adam Randall could have a lot of success. I'd have liked to see what he could do getting 24 carries every game, because if you'd have told me he was going to get 24 carries Saturday, there ain't no way in hell I'd have picked South Carolina.
That's the thing. And to your point of picking South Carolina, there was a lot of unproven things that you could say about Clemson. Yes, you could say if they got to 20 points, if they did this, if Adam Randall got 25 carries a game, sure, they're going to win. But how many times this year have we been able to see that?
Not very often.
Yes,
it's usually
XYZ.
10, 12 carries a game.
I said that it was going to be a race to 20 points. I had Clemson winning 20-17. And, offense scored.
I had it the other way around, 20-16.
Great minds think alike, kind of. We were right there.
That was close. Not as close. I not as close as Louisville. I picked them to win by 1, and they won by 1.
Nice. That was good. Great work. Did you have it 20-19 though?
No.
Yeah. No.
That's why I said I picked them by 1. I can't remember. I think I might have had it 20. I can't remember what I had. 24, 23, I think maybe.
I think I did too, somewhere in there.
There were a lot of things that I was worried about with Clemson on Saturday. One thing I wasn't worried about was South Carolina's offense. I kept seeing, matter of fact, Justin, he's a regular viewer in here, kept telling us the last 2-3 weeks how much better South Carolina's offense was than Clemson's, and I kept saying there's no number to back that up. I haven't seen anything to make me fear South Carolina's offense all year long, and that played out Saturday. There was, outside of the one time, Harbor got behind the defense, and he's probably too good to hold down for 60 minutes. The other big play, that was a brain fart on Clemson. That offense just, They haven't used Sellers as a runner much this year. They tried a little bit Saturday. It didn't work. He ran it 12 times for 2 yards. Was it 2?
Yeah, what was that stat that Colin Sadler had the same amount of receiving yards? Norris did rushing. Brutal. Brutal.
Or whatever it was, because did he pick up a fumble or catch a pass? He caught a deflected pass.
Deflected pass.
He had more receiving. He had as many receiving yards as Sellers had rushing yards.
Yes.
I think that's what it was.
Yes, that was the stat. Glorious stat. But, yeah, I think you're completely right. This was a defense that was not ever going to give up what they did to Lenore Sellers last year. I think they've sat with that. I think Tom Allen came in and they immediately started watching that. We were told that in press conferences.
He said that.
Mm-hmm. He said, as soon as I got here. And I think that's lived in their head for the better part of a year. And the 2 touchdowns were pretty deceptive of what that game looked like. It was lopsided the whole time. It really was. When you look at time of possession, plays, yards, outside of those 2 big catches, Clemson controlled that game pretty much from start to finish. And I didn't necessarily anticipate that because of the injuries on the Clemson side, but guys stepped up. They really did.
If you would have told me that Avion Terrell goes out in the first half and does not return, I would have liked Clemson's chances even less. Big props to Ashton Hampton, because after that injury, I mean, Harbor had a few catches, but his longest one after that, I think, was like, I don't know, I think he had one for 20 yards maybe or something like that. And all the rest were like 11 or 10. He kept everything in front of him. You're not going to shut that guy down completely. You just got to keep him in front of you. And Hampton was on him every play after Terrell left out of there. There was a point not long after Terrell left that Hampton was on him every play. I can't remember if it started immediately when Terrell left, but not long after if it wasn't immediately. And he kept everything in front of him. He didn't get behind him again.
That's pretty big time, too. That's a big assignment thrown at you in the middle of a game. When you don't have all week to prep for that, that guy is so fast, Harbor. He really is.
Fastest guy on the field.
Fastest guy on the field. And still, you were able to contain him. You knew he was going to get 1 or 2 big-time plays. I think you saw that coming. But to keep him from doing anything more than that, that was a huge accomplishment and makes me feel better moving forward about Ashton Hampton and that whole group.
Yeah, I thought Brandon Strozier got better as the game went on. Man, he laid the smack down on a couple of them hits. I mean, I know he was involved on the play where the big touchdown to Harbor, that first touchdown, where Dabo says they were playing cover 3. But, man, I thought he got better after that, and as the game went along, particularly in the second half. Man, he played in that second half like I've not seen him play before, and he laid the wood too. Sammy Brown, I thought Wade Woodaz had one of the best games of his career. They had 11 pass breakups in that game. Brown and Woodaz combined for 4 of them. That was
the Wade Woodaz legacy game, really and truly. He had a really, really big play towards the end there too, where he kept Norris from scoring from a huge big-time run. And that, to me, when it happened, I was like, that might have just saved the game, truly, because he gets out of that tackle, he's gone. The fact that he was able to stop that was a play that he did not make last year, and they've struggled to make it times this year. The fact that he was able to get him down and stop that there, give you a chance to get a stop, that was huge. That was big time.
I bet Woodaz has thought about that game last year for a year now. Because he missed some things in that. He was the spy on that touchdown run and got caught up in the wash or the trash or however you want to say it. And Sellers just went right by him. The linebackers didn't play that well in that game in the fourth quarter. I bet that's been on his mind for a year, and you could kind of tell Saturday.
You knew that Sammy was ready for that game as well, too. He was ready to go, man.
Sammy has played outstanding. He gets better every week. Over the back half of the season, he's been outstanding. He is going to be a stud next year if they can keep him healthy.
Completely agree.
Defensive end group will be in need. Hopefully help comes back. Otherwise, they need at least 2 transfer players. I think they need 2 anyways. Even if help comes back, I think they need 2. I think you need 2 veterans. I think you're going to lose Parker. You'll have loss and you'll have help. Then you don't really have anybody. And I think you need a veteran, preferably 2, to help kind of bridge that gap to Mayo and Wofford. And you only got J.R. Hardrick coming in this recruiting class. I mean, Yeah, I'd rather see 2 than 1 myself.
I think it was strategic to get Will Helt too, knowing he has 2 more years because you knew you were going to be thin after this year. That's something that I've said and that we've said is going to be a priority since before even the season started because you knew you were probably going to lose those kinds of guys.
Yeah, hopefully he's back next year. I mean, he's draft eligible now, and he was kind of non-committal when
True.
asked about it after
Good point.
the game. Well, I guess wait and see what kind of draft grade he gets because he's been, I think he could probably benefit from another year, particularly in his run defense. But that don't necessarily mean guys come back.
JP, they've all been very non-committal except when you asked Antonio.
Except for Antonio, he was pretty. Yeah, I'm leaving.
He said, "No, sir, I will not be coming back." Which you knew was coming. He's ready to be a pro. He's ready for that.
Yeah. He says we have EZ, Gideon, Keith Adams, Jay Haynes in the running back room. No freshmen coming in. But why are you so confident all those guys are going to be back? Because I'm not. I haven't hardly seen EZ for weeks. It took 8 games to get Gideon involved. Keith Adams, I could see him, he's graduated now. I could see him moving on for more opportunities. And who knows what happens with Jay Haynes. He's been hurt all year. I'm leaning towards thinking at least one of those guys leaves, at least one. And that means you're going to need a veteran to kind of pair with whoever doesn't leave.
I'm looking at that list. I don't feel great about any of those guys coming back. There's not one on there that I'm like, oh, well, you'll get so-and-so. And that's just me speaking. But
yeah, if I'm EZ, I'm like, man, I'm not going to play here.
Yeah.
if I'm Gideon, I'm irked about my use this year. I've been griping about the running back rotation since week 3.
He got some opportunity in the South Carolina game.
Well, I mean, after the second bye week, they made it a point to get him more involved. But, man, it took forever.
I think the pitch to him, though, is, you're going to be able to build on this. And you saw how we started using you and all this stuff. But still, you're right. That was a lot of games before.
I told you.
Here we go.
That's the second one I've seen. I know who I picked. I'll stand on it. And
reverse psychology.
That's exactly what it was. Man, this laptop, I'm glad I changed because it's just not working very well over here. We got to get to wrapping this thing up. It's cold out here. What about the O-line next year? You're going to lose a lot of starters. That's what about the O-line next year. Lethicum's gone. Parks is gone. Tristan Lee's gone. You do get Blake Miller's gone. I knew I was forgetting somebody. You do get Sewell and Sadler back. To me, those guys have yet to live up to their lofty recruiting rankings coming out of high school. I do like a lot of the young guys on the roster. I love all 6 coming in. But you probably need a guy or two. Again, man, it's kind of like what I said with the running backs. You probably need a veteran or two to help bridge the gap to those young guys. You'll hopefully get Braden Jacobs back. I don't see why you wouldn't. He would be your starting left tackle. Hell, he could play anywhere but center probably. Who's going to be the center next year? Probably Harris. That would probably be my guess.
I think he's gotten reps there, hadn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, they've said that.
And I don't think there's ever been an underclassman to start at center under Dabo Swinney. So, I mean, I wouldn't expect a Blanchard to beat him out or anything. I would fully expect it to be Sewell. Sadler will be there somewhere. You got Thurman, and then you got Jacobs. But somebody else has got to step up. You might need a veteran or two to help bridge that gap there.
That's been the word of this podcast, and I think it's going to be the word of the offseason is bridging the gap. You have a lot of promising guys coming in. You got a lot of underclassmen that have shown flashes. But going from showing flashes to being the guy, especially in an offensive line where you're going to have a quarterback who hasn't been a consistent starter at Clemson before, I think you got to get help. I really do.
The running backs got more involved because Dabo forced Riley's hand. Actually, it's Spiller that controls the rotations at running back, not Riley. I think Dabo and Riley forced the issue. Probably Dabo a little more so, but that you're placing your blame's misplaced on that one.
I haven't been mad about that one bit.
No, that it was almost criminal how
Yeah.
little Gideon played over. I think the first 7 games it was. Man, you got to get that guy going against Troy in game 2. They didn't. I get it. You put him in against LSU. I think Cade checked out of one play and into another, and Gideon missed the block. But you gotta get that guy, more involved quicker.
Who did they have in blocking that first game? Harold Perkins?
LSU's best defender.
Welcome to college football. Like, I'm sorry, you can't put him in that situation and then say, oh, he missed a block, and then you don't bring him in for several more games. That's not a fair – come on.
Yeah, that is not the way I envisioned his career getting off started at Clemson, man. I figured we'd see very little of him against LSU, and then against Troy, it start incrementally getting more and more and more, but it just didn't work out that way. All right, I think our time's coming to an end here. People starting to look at us like, hey, I got to get on out of here. Well, we fitting to kill the lights. Pickleball games are over.
Wonder who won.
Who won? Who won? Everybody at a different time. Trophies for everybody.
Love it.
I want to remind everybody, we want to thank Keowee Key for having us out here tonight. This beautiful private community out by the lake we set up out here by the pickleball courts where everybody was a winner tonight. Everybody.
We'd love to see it.
Oh, what's your name?
I'm Charlie.
Charlie is the winner.
Congrats, Charlie.
He has proclaimed himself to be the winner, and we are standing on that. Ashby, I appreciate you coming out here.
Oh, my gosh. So much fun,
I know this is a little
JP.
bit of a chug for you.
Oh, my gosh. Are you kidding me? It was awesome. Talk to you, watch some pickleball, talk some Clemson football. Always a win.
Yeah, this place is nice out here. This is, well, not right here, but across the road. That's where I stay at when I come out here.
There you go.
Kind of my home away from home. If my buddy's watching, I'd never be able to repay him for everything he's done for me out here. But this is a beautiful place. We're out here at Keowee Key, the pickleball courts. It is a private community out by Lake Keowee. About everything you could ask for out here. Before we jump out of here, I want to thank our sponsor over at A-Glass. 2 locations in the PD, 1 in Florence, 1 in Sumter. They will take care of all your auto glass needs. They do replacement. They do repair. You can go online, get yourself a free quote, myaglass.com. For Ashby Mixon, JP, check us out, Clemson Insider. Right back here next Monday from my house.